We're delighted now to be joined by the West Bloomfield Township Chief of Police, Chief Mike Patton. Chief Patton, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you, sir, for joining us via Zoom. So let me just start, just throw it to you for a minute and just give you an opportunity before I prejudice any of your comments. I know you saw the George Floyd video. I know you've seen all the coverage over the weekend. What are your thoughts?
I doubt there's an American, Dave, that wasn't not just concerned but disturbed by the video there. Of course, being a law enforcement officer for 35 years here in West Bloomfield, be quite frankly with you, it angered me. All the years of my law enforcement experience, that was very contrary to the missions of law enforcement and to what we do here. And it wasn't just the manner and degree of force that was used, even though that was at minimum, criminally inappropriate. It was the deliberate indifference that I saw there, not only from the officers that were engaging the activity, but the ones that were also standing aside. All the times I've been involved in training here in our agency since my first couple of years here. And of course, since I've been chief for the last 10 years, we instill our officers that what their responsibilities and their duties are. They know that it's a tough job that they have. It's a crap-taking job. It's very difficult at times. But we treat people with respect and dignity on every contact that you have, whether it be a phone conversation, an in-person contact, or you're taking a police report. That's what our mission is here in law enforcement, and particularly at the West Bloomfield Police Department. And to do otherwise is completely unacceptable.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and I'm just going to follow up on what you said. You mentioned not only the officer that was involved in holding down George Floyd, but the other officers. You want to talk a little bit more about that? They have not been charged yet, at least as of when I started the show today. Your thoughts there?
Well, again, this matter is still under investigation by the local authorities within that city and that state, and potentially by the federal authorities too. And we always have to keep in mind that part of our, what is great in America, that they all enjoy a presumption of innocence in what before they're found guilty, in a court of law. So as much as there's a lot of passion and obviously concern and anger, like I even admit to having anger about watching that incident, that they deserve presumption of innocence. But there's an indifference there. And at a minimum, could this incident had been minimized or prevented if one of those officers would have walked up and stopped the officer saying, "What are you doing? Stop it." And given him a timeout from what he was doing. Because either he wasn't mindful what he was doing, or he was doing something that was just so wrong that he needed to be stopped. You wear a badge in our profession. You have a duty to intervene when you see other wrongfulness, either wrongfulness others from members of the public, but also wrongfulness or criminality by your partner members in law enforcement. And that's a requirement to wear a badge in our society, in our communities.
Well, and it's even a higher requirement than it ever has been, or at least we are more aware with everyone walking around with a camera and everything getting documented now. But going back again one more time, so you're talking about your years of training police officers. How would you train? I want to back up and say one more thing. This in no way is supporting the actions of that officer, but we have all seen officers in the line of duty that probably have a little bit of adrenaline going, and it's understandable. We're human beings. But that's where Officer 2, 3, or 4 can come in. How do you train officers for that situation? What do you tell them what to do and what not to do with regard to helping another officer who might be stepping over the line?
Well, that's part of it. Look, Dave, we're all human beings, and police officers are human beings too. Everyone in every profession at some point has a button that can be pushed. But it's incumbent upon all of us, not just the ones that are wearing the stripes, bars, and stars in law enforcement management, but among their peer officers. It's incumbent upon everybody to look at what their other officers are doing and let them know that's not okay. That's wrong. You're not only doing something wrong to harm another person, but you're hurting our profession, our agency, our community, and our nation.
So the other couple of incidents that I saw on television that I thought were interesting for our listeners here and instructive for our listeners here in Oakland County, West Bloomfield, and in Michigan I don't know if you saw the video of the police officer in Detroit who there was a group of officers trying to maintain a perimeter and move some protesters back, and they were moving forward, as often happens. We saw that last night on TV, right in front of the White House when they were clearing the park. Officers, as part of their job, were trying to clear people back. But in the case in Detroit, we had a video circulating where there was one officer who kind of went ahead and started pushing real hard on somebody. I don't know if you saw that video. It's made the rounds. You familiar with the video I'm talking about?
I saw some headlines this morning. I haven't had a chance to really digest all the last night's news just yet. But let me make a general comment about what you're alluding to. Look, in every dynamic situation, every push and every shove doesn't give rise to a violation of rules or law or constitutionality. Those are dynamic situations. People are being directed to do things, and those are lawful orders, presumably given by the law enforcement officers. Officers are empowered to use force, reasonable force in situations, but not to shove somebody. You don't use force when it's not reasonable and required to do so. So if there's a way to get people to move without laying hands on them, that is always the preferred method to do.
Mike Patton, Chief of Police, West Bloomfield. Good to hear, and thank you for your honest interaction with us today to share that you were mad. Do you think a lot of police officers and people in your profession around the country are also mad?
I can almost guarantee that you are. I doubt you're going to see too many people that are going to try and defend the actions of the officers there. Look, we put our officers, it's a difficult job. Again, I've been doing it for many years. I've been fortunate to be the leader here of a great team of men and women for the last 10 years. So we give them a difficult job to do. We give them all the tools and the authority in order to do that job. And they know that there are clear boundaries that they have to adhere to. And when they go outside the boundaries of that responsibility, I mean, look at what's in our law enforcement code of ethics. We're supposed to enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will. And that needs to be something that needs to be reminded to officers sometimes when they're under great stress or that they look like they're going to lose their temper. And there's always training concerns and things like this, but I don't look at this as being a training concern because we've had training, we've done training, we recurring do training. We spend a lot of time training, particularly here in West Bloomfield. That wasn't just training, a training oversight or leadership oversight. That's just an oversight of one human being not able to see that another human being was in distress and taking appropriate actions to correct it.
And then we would be remiss if we did not mention the story out of Genesee County and the sheriff in Genesee County, Chris Swanson, who was totally equipped in all of his protective gear and saw things getting a little bit ugly between the protesters and a potential for a conflict with his officers that were right there protecting a perimeter. And he did a very brave and, as it turned out, brilliant thing, moved forward, removed all of his protective gear, and engaged in some dialogue, then ended up with smiles and handshaking. Your thoughts?
Well, I give the sheriff there great credit for his leadership in his community and area of operations. Look, this is a time for public safety and municipal and governmental leadership to stand up. To reaffirm what's right in our communities, to reaffirm what's right in our treatment of other individuals, even while we have to perform a very difficult job. And again, I think most leaders know their communities very well, but I give the sheriff a lot of credit there.
I think everybody is. He's getting national recognition for his bravery and his smarts, and that's what we need, smart, brave people to enforce and help us uphold the law. One of those, of course, is you, Chief Mike Patton, West Bloomfield Police Department. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's talk about what's been going on. Now, I understand you probably had some late nights the last couple of days. We, other than in downtown Detroit, for the best of my knowledge, have not had widespread protests or problems here in Metro Detroit, but I'm sure you and your colleagues in all of the other communities in Oakland County have been working real hard. You want to talk about that?
Well, we've been monitoring. Obviously, we participate in different consortiums around Oakland County. Law enforcement in Oakland County here is we communicate very well, amongst all the different agencies. So we all get along. There's not, turf rivalries or anything like that going on here in Oakland County. But so far, no incidents or issues here in West Bloomfield, but we are monitoring, areas of protest and or other issues where laws are being violated in other communities. And we're planning to address if necessary, here in West Bloomfield, but so far, no issues.
All right. Any other thoughts today, other than we could talk COVID-19, but your Deputy Kurt Lawson has been doing such a great job on that issue. I don't want to take away his turf, but anything else you want to share with us today that you might think?
No, but there is a reminder on that, Dave, that we are still in hopefully the tail end of an ongoing pandemic where people are putting at risk here, and we still need to be mindful of that. I saw Erica's brief story over in our town hall about all the protective measures they have taken over there. They have just been returning to work here, this week, in the last week or so. We obviously, police department, there have been, been no work from home days for the chief of police here for the last 3 months. We show up to work here every day and providing our services to the great West Bloomfield community that we're very fortunate and blessed to live and work in.
All right. Well, I salute you. Thank you very much. I know you've been busy. Thank you for your amazing work, and thank you for your comments and wisdom today. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Keep up great.
Thank you very much. He is Mike Patton, Chief of Police, West Bloomfield Police Department.